The world changed in less than 5 minutes. It began with a noise, low, deep, almost like a growl echoing from the heavens. People stopped in the streets. Birds scattered. The sky, once blue and calm, shimmered with a strange golden light. Then the clouds split open. Above Earth, massive alien ships descended through the atmosphere. Hundreds of them, some as large as cities, others sleek and sharp, like blades falling from orbit. The largest hovered above major cities: New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing. Their surfaces glowed with pulsing energy. Then came the message. It interrupted every screen, every broadcast, every device on Earth. People at home, at work, in bunkers, on battlefields, all heard it at once. This is the Galactic Council. Humanity has been deemed unstable, aggressive, and dangerous. You are hereby marked for erasure. Resistance will be met with destruction. No negotiations. No warning. Just judgment. In Australia, deep inside a mountain fortress called the Earth Defense Command Center, Commander Alex Carter stood before a massive glass wall overlooking Earth's skies. He didn't move. He didn't blink. He just watched. Behind him, officers scrambled. Screens flashed red with warnings. Satellite feeds collapsed. Communications were failing. But Carter remained calm. He was a man shaped by war. His face was sharp, his eyes steady, and his voice rarely rose. His military record was long, filled with frontline service and hard decisions. He had seen death up close. But this was different. An officer ran up to him, face pale. "Sir, we've lost contact with Mars. Europa's last transmission was a distress signal. New York is gone." Carter turned, his voice cold and focused. "Confirmed target losses." The officer swallowed. "For major cities vaporized. Multiple colonies offline. Incoming fleets detected in Earth orbit. They're surrounding us." There was a long silence. Carter walked to the main control console and tapped into the emergency broadcast channel. He spoke into the microphone, his voice reaching every soldier still alive. "This is Commander Alex Carter. We are under full-scale alien invasion. The Galactic Council has declared war on humanity. They believe we will fall easily. They believe fear will break us." He paused, his hand tight around the mic. "They are wrong. Prepare for defense. No more retreats. No more hesitation. This is our home, and we will not let them take it." He cut the channel and turned back to the officers. "Evacuate the northern bunkers. Activate the orbital cannons. Give me visuals on all enemy fleets." Another officer stepped forward. "Sir, the Council has sent a message directly to you." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Play it." The hologram flickered to life. A tall alien figure appeared, thin, with gray-blue skin, narrow eyes, and glowing patterns running down its neck. High Chancellor Virex of the Galactic Council. "Commander Carter," the alien said, "you are known to us. You are a capable leader. Step down. Disband your fleet. Surrender, and humanity may be remembered with pity." Carter stared at the image. Then he said one word. "No." He raised his hand and shut off the transmission. Moments later, explosions lit up the sky. The alien ships had begun their attack. Energy beams rained down from orbit, slicing through towers and bridges. Fire spread across the horizon. The sky turned red. But Earth was not defenseless. Missile batteries fired from mountain bases. Plasma cannons lit up from secret bunkers. Carter's remaining fleet, what was left of Earth's once mighty space force, rose into orbit to meet the invaders. It wasn't a fair fight. The Council had more ships, better weapons, and years of planning. But Carter had something they didn't: desperation. And humans fight hardest when they have nothing left to lose. As night fell, Earth burned. Cities crumbled. Skies glowed with fire and ash. But in the command center, Carter stood tall, watching the battle unfold. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. The sun rose over a world in ruins. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned for miles. Once great cities were now broken skeletons of steel and ash. Roads were shattered, buildings crumbled, and the sky still glowed faintly red from the energy weapons fired the night before. Australia had survived the first wave, barely. Deep beneath the Earth, inside the massive command center, Commander Alex Carter reviewed casualty reports. The numbers were brutal. Over 1 billion lives lost across Earth in less than 12 hours. Most communication satellites were gone. The orbital defense grid was heavily damaged. Still, he remained calm. Carter stood in the Situation Room, surrounded by senior officers and tired soldiers. The room smelled of sweat, burnt wiring, and old coffee. Everyone looked at him, waiting for orders. "We need to regroup," Carter said. "And we need to strike back." One officer, Colonel Mason, frowned. "With what, sir? Half our weapons are offline. Most of our fleets were wiped out in orbit. We're barely holding one command center." Carter didn't flinch. "We'll make do with what we have. We've survived worse. Humanity doesn't give up. Not now. Not ever." He turned to the operations team. "Begin restoring long-range comms. I want to know who's still out there." It took hours, but slowly, the system came back online. Signals started to return, faint, scattered, full of static, but they were there. One came from the Martian colony, New Horizon. Carter's eyes narrowed as he read the message. "Survivors intact. Power low. Enemy presence minimal. Request orders." He leaned forward. "Mars survived." "Barely," Mason said. "That colony is mostly civilians and scientists." "They're still human," Carter replied. "And we're not leaving anyone behind." Carter sent back a coded message. "Hold position. Help is coming." Meanwhile, refugee trains arrived at the Australian base from all over the continent. People, injured, starving, afraid, poured into underground shelters. Many had lost everything. Families were separated. Children wandered alone. Soldiers helped them inside, guiding them with calm voices and tired eyes. In the med bay, doctors worked nonstop. There weren't enough beds or supplies. Carter walked through the halls silently, watching, taking it all in. These were the people he was fighting for. One boy caught his eye, maybe 10 years old, dirt on his face, eyes wide with fear. He clutched a photo of his parents, both likely gone. Carter knelt beside him. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Leo," the boy whispered. "You're safe now, Leo. We're going to fight back. And we're going to win." Leo didn't answer, but he nodded. That night, Carter met with his top engineers. The command center's armory had stored dozens of prototype weapons and defense systems, some untested, some incomplete. "We'll finish them," Carter said. "I want every turret online, every drone, every system. If it can shoot, I want it working." The engineers nodded. They knew the stakes. There was no backup, no cavalry, only them. Over the next few days, a fragile network formed between survivors. Scattered military units responded to Carter's calls. Some were deep in jungles, others hiding in cities, but they were alive. They had weapons, supplies, and the will to fight. Carter called it the Ember Net. "Embers are small," he told his officers, "but they're hard to kill. And if we feed them, they grow into fire." The Council ships remained in orbit, watching. They had expected humanity to surrender quickly. Instead, they saw movement, resistance, and something they didn't expect: coordination. A second wave was coming. Everyone knew it. But now, Earth wouldn't meet it with fear. It would meet it with fire. Carter stood once again in the command room as fresh intel came in. The Council was deploying smaller ships to patrol human territory, searching for survivors. A chance, he thought. "We'll strike fast," he said. "We'll hit their patrols, steal what we can. Weapons, tech information. If we can't outgun them, we'll outthink them." Colonel Mason gave him a sharp look. "You're planning to fight an alien empire with scraps?" Carter looked him dead in the eye. "No, I'm planning to beat them with human will. And steel." He stepped forward, his voice loud and clear. "We may be buried in ash, but we are not dead. We are iron beneath it. And iron doesn't break." It began in the silence between battles. In the ruins of Earth's shattered cities and the dust-covered tunnels of Mars, survivors stirred. Across broken communication lines and faint signals, Commander Alex Carter's voice reached them. A voice steady and strong, refusing to break under the weight of loss. "We're still here," he had said. "If you can hear this, you are not alone. We will fight back. Together." And people responded. Outposts that had gone quiet for days began to answer. Scattered military units, forgotten supply ships, half-broken drones buried in sand. Anything still running started to move. Pilots came forward. Engineers, hackers, medics, old veterans. Some had nothing but a sidearm and the will to fight. But that was enough. In less than a week, Carter gathered what remained of humanity's space force and gave it a name: the Ember Fleet. It wasn't much to look at. The ships were mismatched and damaged. Some were cargo haulers refitted with plasma turrets. Others were old mining ships welded with scrap armor. The only thing they had in common was that they flew and carried the fire of defiance. Carter stood in the docking bay of the Dauntless, the largest surviving warship, as crews worked day and night. Sparks flew from welding torches. Fuel lines hissed. The air smelled like sweat, metal, and ozone. Beside him stood Riley Tran, a young engineer from the Martian colony New Horizon, barely in her 20s, but already one of the smartest minds Carter had met. "We finished linking the Martian AI core to the ship's systems," she said, wiping grease from her face. "It can predict enemy movement patterns now." Carter nodded. "Good. We'll need every edge we can get." Riley hesitated. "Sir, this fleet, it's held together with patches and hope. Half the ships shouldn't even be flying." He looked out over the flickering lights of the hangar. "Doesn't matter. As long as they can fire and move, they'll do." She said nothing, but her eyes hardened. She understood. Meanwhile, intelligence reports arrived from scouts across the solar system. Council patrol ships had landed on moons and asteroids, hunting for survivors. They moved in small groups, confident, slow, careless. The perfect targets. Carter met with his strike team commanders inside the Dauntless war room. "We're going to hit their patrols," he said. "Fast, hard, and unexpected. We take their tech, learn how they fight, use it against them." "Won't that draw their attention?" asked one of the commanders. Carter's expression was cold. "Good. Let them come. Let them see we're not afraid." The Ember fleet launched its first mission 2 days later. A trio of ships, including the Drifter, an old smuggler vessel now armed with experimental railguns, headed for one of Saturn's outer moons. A Council scout ship had been spotted there. The operation was a success. They disabled the alien ship with a surprise attack, boarded it, and retrieved valuable tech. Riley personally led the salvage team. She found something strange: a pulse core, the power source of the alien vessel, and data drives containing movement algorithms of the entire Council fleet in nearby space. "We just found their playbook," she told Carter. With that knowledge, Carter planned more raids. Hit-and-run tactics, ambushes in asteroid fields, disrupting their supply routes. Every mission was dangerous. Some people didn't come back. But with each strike, the Ember fleet grew stronger. They repaired more ships, modified old weapons, developed new tactics. The engineers built hybrid systems, blending human firepower with alien tech. Carter called it junkyard innovation, and it worked. The fleet now numbered over 50 ships. Still small, still outgunned, but smarter, faster, and burning with purpose. Inside his private quarters aboard the Dauntless, Carter reviewed a map of the solar system. Red dots showed enemy movement. Yellow ones marked human colonies still silent. Blue lights showed their fleet's position. One colony stood out: Titan, Saturn's largest moon. It hadn't sent a signal since the invasion. Carter narrowed his eyes. "They're there," he muttered. "Either alive or buried." He sent out a message to the Ember fleet. "Next target, Titan. Prepare for engagement." Before leaving, Carter walked through the lower decks of the Dauntless. He greeted mechanics, shared a few words with the gunners, helped a medic carry supplies. The crew looked at him not just as a commander, but as a symbol, someone who stood between them and extinction. He stopped by the hangar where Riley was adjusting a new targeting array. "Good work," he said. She smiled faintly. "We're just getting started." Carter nodded. "Let's light the stars with fire." As the Ember fleet rose from Earth's shadow and moved toward Titan, their engines burned bright in the cold dark of space. They were not polished, not perfect, but they were alive. And in the silence of space, their message was clear. Humanity will not go quietly. Titan was silent. No lights, no signals, no signs of life. The once thriving colony that had floated above Saturn's orange clouds now drifted in darkness. Its power grid was down, its communications offline. The Council had been here, but what they left behind was unknown. Commander Alex Carter stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, staring at the holographic display of Titan's surface. It showed broken structures and flickering ruins. "There could still be survivors," said Riley Tran beside him. "Or an ambush," Carter replied. "We're going in either way." He had already made the decision. Titan was too important to leave behind. It had been a major research station with deep storage vaults, places where the best human minds once worked on weapons, AI, and stealth tech. If anything was left, they needed it. He gathered a small strike team, 10 of his best, including Riley and 2 veteran soldiers from Mars. They took a stealth shuttle and descended toward Titan's surface, leaving the Ember fleet in low orbit. As they landed, frost covered the windows. The colony was dead silent. The main tower stood crooked, half buried in snow and methane ice. Lights flickered weakly in the distance. No signs of enemy movement. But Carter didn't relax. Everyone stay sharp, he ordered as they stepped into the freezing air. The team entered the colony through a breached airlock. Inside, it was cold and dark. The lights were dim. Broken screens flashed error codes. A trail of blood led down one hallway, frozen in place. No bodies, just silence. They moved carefully, weapons raised, checking each room. Most were empty. The power core was offline, but backup systems still hummed faintly. Riley found the central control panel, half buried under debris. I can bring the data systems back online, she said. It'll take time. Do it, Carter said. We cover you. As she worked, the rest of the team spread out. Carter found signs of struggle, burn marks, shattered walls, bullet holes. The council had come here hard and fast. But something felt off. Too clean, he said quietly. No bodies. No resistance logs. No last messages. Then a voice crackled through the old intercom system. Who are you? The team froze. It was a human voice. Weak, raspy, but alive. This is Commander Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet, he said, stepping forward. Who is this? The voice coughed. Dr. Ezra Malik. I'm in sublevel 3. They left me. Thought I was dead. Riley looked up. He was the head of Titan Research. We're going down, Carter said. They found a hidden access shaft behind a sealed wall. The elevator was dead, so they climbed. Sublevel 3 was colder, darker, and filled with dust. The air was thin. They found Dr. Malik in a sealed lab, curled beneath a heat lamp powered by a tiny backup cell. He was thin, pale, his eyes sunken. They killed everyone, he said. But I played dead, hid in the shadows. What happened here? Carter asked. They were looking for the phase core, Malik said. It was a prototype stealth drive, experimental. We hid it in the vault, but they couldn't open it. They left, planning to return. Carter's eyes narrowed. Can you open it? Malik nodded slowly. With help. They carried him back to the main chamber. Riley helped him restore partial power to the lab systems. After 2 hours of coding, the vault opened. Inside was a small, silver device, smooth, glowing faintly. The phase core, a stealth engine unlike any other. It could cloak an entire ship from scanners and energy sensors. Perfect for surprise attacks. This changes everything, Riley said. Carter nodded. We take it. Load it onto the shuttle. As they prepared to leave, sensors lit up. Council ships were approaching. They must have been watching, Carter said. Let's move. They ran through the frozen corridors, carrying the core and guiding Malik along. The shuttle was just ahead when the first shot rang out, an energy bolt that vaporized the ice behind them. Alien troops descended from above, tall, armored, cold. The council had returned. Contact, shouted one of the soldiers. Return fire. Carter and his team fought their way to the shuttle. The battle was close and brutal, gunfire in tight hallways, grenades in frozen airlocks. 2 of his men went down, buying time. Riley dragged the core aboard. Carter fired the last shots, covering the rear, then jumped inside. The shuttle lifted, dodging beams of energy and bursts of plasma. They broke through the atmosphere. Behind them, Titan burned. Back on the Dauntless, the crew cheered as the shuttle landed. Carter stepped off, bruised, tired, but alive. In his hands, he held the phase core. Install it, he said. We'll strike from the shadows now. The mission had been costly. They had lost more brave soldiers. But what they gained, technology, knowledge, and a survivor, would help shift the war. As Carter stood on the deck of the Dauntless once more, watching Titan fade behind them, he spoke quietly. They thought we'd be too scared to come. But we went into the dark, and we came out with fire. The Ember fleet was no longer hiding. After Titan, everything changed. With the stolen phase core now installed in the Dauntless, Commander Alex Carter could cloak the fleet's movements. The Council couldn't track them. For the first time, humanity had the element of surprise. It was time to take the fight to the stars. Carter stood in the central war room aboard the Dauntless, surrounded by holographic star maps. Council patrol paths, fuel depots, and communication hubs glowed in red across the map. "We've studied their tactics," he told his officers. "They travel in predictable formations. They rely on automated logistics and relay stations. If we hit these points," he pointed to several red marks, "we shatter their coordination." Colonel Mason nodded. "Divide them, confuse them, bleed them dry." "Exactly," Carter said. The Ember Fleet launched its first offensive within days. Under the cover of the Phase Corps' stealth cloak, Carter led attacks on small council convoys near Jupiter's moons. They moved fast, ambush, destroy, vanish. They left no trace but wreckage. Riley Tran, now leading a small team of engineers, modified human weapons using alien energy converters. Plasma cannons that used to take 10 seconds to charge now fired in half that time. They built tracking drones with Council AI chips. Even damaged ships were repurposed as traps, rigged to explode when approached. It was war from the shadows. The Council, confused by the sudden losses, grew aggressive. They spread their ships wider, looking for ghosts. This only made them easier to target. But every victory came at a price. In one raid above Europa, the Hammerlight, a human gunship, was hit by a Council destroyer's energy wave. The ship was torn in half. 32 lives lost. The crew died buying time for the fleet to escape. Carter stood at the airlock as the wounded were brought in. Medics rushed to help. Bodies were lined up. He looked at them, not as numbers, but as names he had read, faces he had seen. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence was full of weight. Later, in his quarters, Carter replayed part of the Council's original message on a data screen. The words echoed. "Humanity is unstable, dangerous, unfit for the future." He stared at it for a long time before shutting it off. "We'll show them what dangerous really means," he said softly. Meanwhile, Dr. Ezra Malik, the scientist rescued from Titan, had recovered enough to work. He joined Riley in studying the alien data they had stolen. One day, he came to Carter with a grim look. "They're building something," Malik said. "A superweapon. Not a fleet, not an army. One thing, big enough to finish Earth in a single strike." "Where?" Carter asked, still decoding the coordinates. "But soon." Carter didn't hesitate. "Keep working. Tell me the second you have a location." Back in the hangar, morale was shifting. Soldiers sharpened their weapons, not in fear, but in focus. Pilots joked in the ready rooms again. Engineers played music while they worked. The Ember Fleet, once barely holding together, was now a force of its own. People believed, not just in Carter, but in each other. During a quiet moment in the observation deck, Carter stood alone, watching the stars. Riley joined him. "You know," she said, "they used to think we were just chaos. That we couldn't be trusted to join the Council." "They were right about one thing," Carter replied. "We're not like them. We don't bow. We don't break." She smiled. "We burn." He looked at her, calm and certain. "And fire spreads." A new mission was approved that same night. A deep strike into a heavily fortified Council relay hub near Neptune. The Council used it to coordinate long-range communications between fleets. If it went dark, they'd be deaf for weeks. The Ember Fleet would hit it head-on. "Make no mistake," Carter said as the fleet gathered. "They'll be waiting. This won't be an ambush. This is war." The ships launched, over 70 of them now. Fighters, frigates, stealth units, even repurposed cargo ships rigged for combat. They flew together like a single organism, engines glowing through the void. As they approached the relay station, Council ships moved to intercept. The battle was brutal. Lasers cut across the black sky. Missiles exploded in silence. Human pilots maneuvered between massive structures, using the Phase Corps cloak to jump in and out of visibility. Explosions lit up the darkness. The Dauntless led the charge, its new plasma lances piercing through enemy armor. Riley coordinated remote drones from the command deck, while Malik launched a virus into the Council's control grid. By the time the relay hub was destroyed, the Ember Fleet had lost 5 more ships, but the mission succeeded. The Council's command lines went dark. Carter stood at the helm as the station burned behind them. He didn't smile. There was no joy in war, but there was pride. "We've got fire in our veins now," he said, "and we're just getting started." The message came just after midnight. The Council was sending its full fleet to Earth. Not scouts, not patrols. The entire force. Over 1,000 ships. Carriers. Destroyers. Flagships. They were done waiting. They were coming to end humanity for good. They would arrive in less than 48 hours. Commander Alex Carter stood before his fleet, not in a grand hall, not on a stage, just on the hangar deck of the Dauntless, surrounded by soldiers, engineers, medics, and pilots. Every person in that room had lost something. Many had lost everything. Carter looked around at them and spoke in a calm, steady voice. "This is it," he said. "They want to wipe us out. They think we're broken. That will scatter. That will kneel. They're wrong." He paused. "This is our world, and no one takes it from us." The plan was simple. Earth couldn't withstand a direct hit. The Ember fleet was strong, but not large enough to win a straight fight in orbit. So Carter chose the battlefield, the moon. They would lure the Council fleet in, using Earth as bait, and fight above the moon's surface. The old lunar defense grid, buried beneath layers of rock, would be reactivated. Thousands of hidden turrets, missiles, and EMP mines would wait for the enemy. "We turn the moon into a trap," Carter said. "And when they walk into it, we close the jaws." Preparations began immediately. Crews dug into the surface of the moon, activating ancient defense systems that hadn't powered on in a century. Riley and her team programmed automated turrets and sensor jammers. Dr. Malik finished decrypting the last piece of Council tech, helping them build energy shields strong enough to block direct hits. Everything they had built, learned, and stolen over the last weeks was poured into this final stand. The Ember fleet, now over 90 ships, spread out across low orbit, hiding in lunar craters and behind ice-covered ridges. The Dauntless, fitted with the phase core and every weapon they could mount, served as the spearhead. They waited. The Council arrived like a wave of fire. The sky lit up as their ships dropped from warp space in tight formation. The leading vessel, the Judicator, was nearly the size of a city. Behind it came rows of destroyers and carriers, all armed to burn the planet beneath them. Carter watched them approach from the moon's command center. He nodded once. Now, the ambush began. Lunar turrets rose from beneath the surface, launching missiles and plasma bursts into the fleet's underbelly. Dozens of Council ships were hit before they even fired. The Ember fleet uncloaked and struck hard, flanking the enemy from behind. The sky turned into fire. Laser beams crossed the void like glowing spears. Ships exploded silently in the vacuum. Human fighters flew between enemy vessels, dropping charges and firing with precision. Council ships responded with brutal force, cutting through the chaos. The battle was massive, blinding, and close. On the Dauntless, Carter led the charge toward the Judicator. It was the Council's flagship, the command center of the entire operation. Destroy it, and the rest would lose coordination. But it wasn't easy. Enemy vessels swarmed the Dauntless, hammering its shields. The ship shook. Sparks flew. Systems flickered. Riley worked furiously to reroute power while Malik uploaded a virus into the Judicator's targeting system. "Almost there," Malik shouted. "Just a few more seconds." The ship rocked again. A nearby blast tore through the starboard wing. One of the fleet's cruisers, the Vigilant, rammed an enemy destroyer to protect the Dauntless, sacrificing itself in the process. Carter stood firm on the bridge. "Lock onto their core reactor," he said. "Full power to the main gun." The Dauntless' main cannon charged, drawing every last reserve of energy. Lights dimmed. The hull groaned. Then, in a flash of blue light, the shot fired. It struck the Judicator dead center. The explosion was massive. Fire and debris ripped through space. The shockwave slammed into nearby ships, scattering Council formations. Their fleet began to break. But the cost was high. The Dauntless power grid collapsed. Fire spread through the lower decks. Emergency teams rushed to contain them. Carter gave one last order. "Evacuate the ship. Now." Riley refused to leave. "You'll die here," she said. Carter looked at her, calm as always. "Then I'll die buying us victory." He turned and walked to the command chair. Smoke filled the room. The ship shook violently. He didn't waver. Riley was dragged out by a security officer. Carter stayed. As the Ember fleet pushed forward, Council ships scattered. Without the Judicator, they lost coordination. Many tried to flee. Others fell into disarray and were destroyed. The moon was cracked and burning, but it held. And the Dauntless, still floating, finally went silent. The battle was over. Earth was saved. But Alex Carter was gone. The Ember fleet gathered their dead. They sent a message across every human frequency, every surviving colony. He didn't fall. He stood. And because he stood, we're still here. On Earth, as the skies cleared, people stepped out of shelters and looked up. No more alien ships. No more red skies. Just stars. Just silence. Just hope. Carter's last transmission played one final time. We didn't start this war, but we ended it. Never threaten us again. 3 days after the battle, Earth was quiet. For the first time in weeks, no sirens echoed across the ruins. No alien ships floated in the sky. No gunfire, no smoke, no screams. Just wind. Just silence. People began to emerge from shelters. In shattered cities and underground bunkers, survivors stepped into the light. They looked up, expecting fire, but saw stars. They looked around, expecting ash, but saw each other. The war was not over in their hearts, but it was over in the sky. The Galactic Council had retreated. What remained of their once mighty fleet had scattered across the void, broken and leaderless. Without their command ship, without their advantage, they fled into deep space, unwilling to risk another battle with Earth. And Commander Alex Carter was gone. The Dauntless had been found adrift near the dark side of the moon. Burned, torn open, but still holding shape. Search teams boarded the wreckage and walked through the ruined halls. Fires were out. Air was gone. Systems were dead. But they found something unexpected. A sealed escape pod, hidden beneath the command deck. Damaged, low on power, but intact. Inside was Carter, alive, unconscious, barely breathing. Riley Tran was there when they opened the hatch. Her breath caught when she saw him. Pale, wounded, but alive. He had stayed behind to finish the mission, and somehow, the ship had protected him just long enough. He opened his eyes 2 days later in a med bay on Earth. "You made it," Riley said. "You dragged me back," Carter replied weakly. "No," she smiled. "You wouldn't let go." News of his survival spread fast. Across every remaining colony, Mars, Europa, even the distant mining stations near Neptune, people cheered. They cried. They stood in silence. Whatever they needed to do to feel the weight of survival, they did it. Carter refused any ceremony. He stood in front of a simple camera and recorded one final message. It wasn't broadcast with music or flags. Just his voice, calm and steady, like it always was. This war took everything from us. Cities, ships, families, friends. But it didn't take us. Humanity is still here. We are burned, yes, but not broken. He paused. The Galactic Council thought we would surrender. They thought we were weak. We proved them wrong. If they ever come again, they won't find prey. They'll find fire. He ended with a quiet promise. We will rebuild. Not as victims, but as survivors. Stronger. Smarter. Together. After the war, the Ember Fleet was officially renamed the Carter Line. Not as a tribute to a man, but to the spirit he represented. Ships were repaired. Colonies reconnected. Earth, scarred and battered, began to breathe again. The Council did not return. They had underestimated the will of one species. They had looked down on humans, called them dangerous, chaotic, unstable. In the end, those very traits had saved them. Because when humans burn, they don't vanish. They rise. And now the stars knew it. On a quiet hill just outside the city of New Sydney, one of the few cities still standing, a memorial stood. No grand statue. No marble. Just a piece of the Dauntless hull, planted in the ground. Etched into it were Carter's final words. We didn't fall. We stood. And the fire still burns. People would visit that place for generations. Not just to remember the war, but to remember what came after. The rebuilding, the healing, the unity.